So was it just then that the stimulus was done poorly and wrong, and that the stimulus, that was the right way to go, it was just done poorly, or what would the better solution have been?
I think the stimulus was written very poorly. I remember as it got rolling, the administration gave most of the impetus to the House of Representatives. And the Speaker gave most of the authority to write the details to the Appropriations Committee, a committee that I sit on. And the Democratic staff of the Appropriations Committee under Chairman Obey wrote most of the details. When the stimulus was released, I read every page of both the bill and the accompanying report, which is even longer. And I was struck by how little infrastructure spending totaled as a percentage of the whole stimulus, and how many ideas which had long been rejected for funding were being fully funded in the stimulus that had little to no potential for economic impact. I knew as a minority member of the House of Representatives, outgunned by a 39-vote majority, I would only have a limited impact on convincing my fellow members of Congress who are Democrats that some of what they were talking about was wrong. We succeeded on one big project, which is that they proposed $200 million to resod the National Mall. Now, I ran a lawn care service when I was in high school, so taking care of lawns is something that I knew something about. And so looking at those panels of grass on the mall, I thought, how do you spend $200 million on this piece of property? We called up the National Park Service and said, you know, the current leaders of the Congress want to spend $200 million on this National Mall plan. Can you send it over? And the National Park Service said, there is no agreed on plan. There were 3 different versions of this plan, and we received a lot of objections and never came to consensus. I said, well, can you send over at least the debate on this plan that we are now supposed to be funding? And one thing I learned was that the plan was to constrict the amount of space available for any kind of protest dramatically. This led to, I believe it was Answer.org, which was a leading anti-Iraq war group, and the ACLU to file formal protests against the mall plan because of how much it restricted protest space. I testified before the House Rules Committee, and I said, this is a waste of money and we shouldn't do this. And I think they took that as a Republican member saying that we should have fiscal restraint, but we're for a stimulus and any kind of spending is good. When I then highlighted that how brave everyone was to be backing a project that was opposed by the ACLU and Answer.org, I got the intended result, and at least they dumped funding for that. And that was throughout the process.
The polls for the governor's race show that race is very much widened, that Senator Brady is gaining a lead, but yet the polls for your race against the treasurer are not. Why the difference?
I think that the people of Illinois know that the state of Illinois government is one of the most incompetent in America, and there is a feeling when you see a rating of the state of Illinois, for example, as one of the worst debtors on the planet. This summer, one rating service had us among the top 10 worst sovereign debtors on the planet. When you hear from generally service providers to the state of Illinois, how long it's taken to be paid by the state of Illinois. As you heard in the opening today, how they talked about the accounts receivable or accounts payable by the state of Illinois have jumped from $1 billion to nearly $5 billion. I think there's now a consensus that the state of Illinois is being very poorly run. On the other hand, for the Senate race, we've opened a lead according to the latest Rasmussen poll. I think it was 41-37. But this is a state that has been heavily Democratic. And I think there is a growing independent voice here. But for me, I have not run for statewide office before. I've represented 1/19 of the state. And I think our message is resonating pretty strongly.
Have Republican voters and those independent voters, have they decided on Bill Brady and they're not sure on you? They don't know you?
No, I think, well, first of all, I think the contest for the Senate is much hotter because you've got national outside groups that are very interested in this. I think the importance of this race also has not been well understood. The national focus has been on the state of Delaware, but it's quickly fading, and I think the national focus will be on the state of Illinois. I think the financial markets and the Eastern media have totally missed the importance of the court ruling on the ballot in Illinois. That they have not yet fully realized that there are only 4 states which even have the ability to seat a senator early in this session of Congress. 3 of them, Colorado, West Virginia, and Delaware, have a unified election, so there's only one election with the right of their senator to be seated in the Senate. My understanding is the Senate parliamentarian has said, we reserve the right to decide when a senator is seated, meaning that if you could be a game changer, there at least is the potential of a delay in when that senator is seated. I don't see that with the state of Illinois. We're the only state in the country that will actually specifically elect a junior senator to serve in the lame duck session of Congress. The victor of the special election will be specifically sent to replace Senator Burris and actually vote in this session of Congress. The national media has missed the potential that Illinois could send a senator who would be the 42nd Republican serving in the Senate, a potential vote changer that would offset 1 or 2 Republicans that might seek to vote elsewhere. I've laid out as best I can what I think the legislative agenda could be in the lame duck session of Congress. I think many people are afraid of what the lame duck Congress could do, especially on spending, with an omnibus appropriation nearly certain to be brought up, and then the other matters that I put out. So I think the national focus is going to come here, and I think a lot of people are going to care about where the lame duck goes.
Speaking of outside groups getting involved, American Crossroads is about to roll out a bunch of ads on your behalf. Julie just wants you to declare, to disclose where the funding comes from. He also wants you to say whether or not the details in there will be accurate. That caused trouble in several other states. How do you feel about those ads?
Right. I would just say that he is now criticizing an ad that neither he or I have seen. Isn't that interesting?
Now they've caused, there's what, 6 other states, one of which...
No, but how do you say an ad is inaccurate when you haven't seen it? Wouldn't that cause you to question the credibility of the spokesman? Because I guess the conclusion has been read when you don't even know what the ad says. I don't know what the ad says. I first heard about this ad when Alexi Janulius had a press conference about it. We also saw that there's another big group that just came in and bought ads, the DSCC. I don't know what their ad says either. I think we will definitely see the First Amendment on full display here. I will just tell you that when I was thinking about running for the Senate, I went to a number of my Democratic and Republican colleagues that had run. And I said, any advice, any common experiences? And they said, I'll tell you one thing, one of them said. He said, you and your opponent will not be in control of this election. He said, my experience in running for the Senate is there are so many outside parties that will attempt to come into the state that it's very likely that a large part of the voice in the state in the election will not be your opponent's or yours. And it's just the First Amendment on full display.
You mentioned people buying gold and a concern for the economy.
Yeah.
You expressed no concern for the economy. Are you buying gold?
No, I'm not. I'm going to be faithful to the dollar, but I do see the ads, and I think they underlie a growing concern about the direction of the U.S. economy. Anyway.